Good evening and welcome to the last and final day for the Experimenter Curators Hub 2020. We've been through three invigorating, enriching days of the discussions of the Hub. Yesterday with the presentations of Dorian Chong and Alessandro Vintelli, and of course the ensuing discussions right after. Today's the essential last day, and as you know at the Hub, the last day, the last part of the last day is actually quite interesting and quite critical to the Hub, and I'll come to that shortly. I just want to say that today we will hear from Zasha Kola and Gitanjali Dang in that order. With the Zasha and Gitanjali are from the first two, basically the 2011 and 2012 iterations of the Hub. As you would have realized during the course of the few days of the Hub, that we've been going backwards in time, and Gitanjali was part of our very first Hub in 2011. It's pretty amazing that it's been 10 years that the Hub has been organized, and I'm looking forward to listening to how and what Gitanjali and Zasha have to say after these many years. I want to also say that at the end of that conversation, after we finish the Q&A with Gitanjali, we will break out into the most important aspect of the Hub, where all the presenting curators of this year, along with Natasha, will come on to the panel together, the Zoom panel together, and there'll be a moderated discussion that will cover questions and issues and concerns, challenges, opportunities, all the kind of strands or thought ideas, all the strands that that we've been discussing over the last 3 days, now 4 days. And that is really the essence of where the Hub distills down to in the end. And it's a very crucial part of the Hub, so I'd like you all to stay in till then. And basically, it kind of filters down and gives you a way forward, maybe, or a kind of or maybe a reflection of what we've been discussing over the last few days. It's a very crucial aspect of the Hub, and I hope you will stay on for that. As always, I would like to thank a few people before I say a few words about something else. Firstly, huge thank you for supporting the Hub every year. Australia Council for the Arts, British Council, the Goethe-Institut, Take on Art magazine. I also would like to thank Natasha for holding on and trying to very beautifully navigate through this process for the last 3 days. It's really a privilege to have you with us, Natasha, and thank you so much for doing what you do every year. Sky and Thomas for writing these beautiful blogs. Please do check them out on our website. It's under the ECH section and under blogs. They're very deep interviews, also short snippets of conversations between the curators and Sky. They also are previous editions of the blog in the Hub. So please go through them. They're very enriching as texts. And then I would also like to thank our team, all the entire Experimenter team, for organizing this so beautifully. It's the first time that we're doing it online, primarily because we couldn't meet physically. There are many aspects of the Hub that we really enjoy when we are together. And I hope that in the next edition of the Hub, when we meet together, we will be together, and there will be possibilities that we will be exchanging not just ideas and energies over the internet, but in person. Before I hand over the evening to, or the afternoon or day, depending on where you are, to Natasha, I will say a few things about the Hub. And it's interesting that I'm saying this out on an online format, but I would love to say it in person to you when you are here, if you are here, when you are here. The Hub was originally, and people ask us this constantly, the Hub was originally birthed from an idea to learn, just because we didn't have the access or the kind of thought that that everybody should have. And that idea, that immediateness, that urgency to learn and know and to discuss and to debate and to converse, or to have contrarian point of view, continues and remains the essence of the hub. And how we are able to take that forward remains to be is what the legacies of the hub is. The over the last 8 months since this pandemic has enveloped all of us, we launched something called the Experimental Labs, which is an extension of which is kind of works with the experimental learning program work that experimental learning program does, and you can see it on our website. These learning program activities include a lot of online courses, lot of many discursive experiences with some of the most important thinkers and practitioners worldwide, including courses on textile or writing or film studies or just curatorship or even ideas of exhibition making, ideas of book making, photography. These are these are interactive processes that we are rooted to. It makes our experimenter a place of discursive learning rather than a site of passive viewing. It's an important idea or kind of a core thought in our system. We also did something that we are very how can I say, for lack of a better word, fortunate to be part of, and we launched something called the Generator Cooperative Artist Production Grant, which is a unique artist production grant system, which completely breaks the hierarchy of grant giving and kind of questions the politics as well as the structure of how artist production grants can be accessed and distributed. This is an entire cooperative production grant where we act as a bridge between the grant giver and the grant taker, and we're able to connect. It's just a way to help people redistribute and help connect this kind of this structure, this kind of thinking of how a grant giving organization gives. We are not a grant giving organization, but the idea is to be able to help support arts production. It's over the last 8 months, we've supported over 19 crucial projects across the platforms, across different categories, across the world, across different kinds of artists' careers. So it's really something that we believe in, and is it kind of extends from what Experimenter stands for, and it's really a way to think about our role in helping and developing and supporting the communities that we impact. I would really also encourage you to look through all of this when you have the time, and it's really I'm really fortunate to be part of this wonderful team that enables all of this. Thank you for um, uh, listening to me at this moment. And I'm going to now stop and let Natasha take away the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prateek. Welcome to the closing day of Experimenter Curators Hub. As we already addressed, we've heard from curators who have been part of a decade of this forum, and we greatly appreciate this space for introspection, uninhibited expression, engagement that has been possible through Experimenter, but also through Calcutta's audiences and through the international community that has built this endeavor together with us. We have been speaking about codependence, and that's very much at the core of such an initiative that seeks to contribute to public cultures of debate, dissent, and advocacy, which can only happen as a communal exercise, one that is unfinished, but hopefully that can continue. I would like to recollect the words of author, anthropologist, and anarchist activist David Graeber, who passed on earlier this year. His writing on money, debt, value, and anarchism are fundamental, even to, if I might say, a curator's hub. This April, he noted, we are going to be encouraged when this is all over to think it was just a dream. You know, we had this very strange thing. It had nothing to do with reality. Now we are waking up and going back to normal. But actually, no. Normal was the dream. This is reality. We realize which people are really taking care of us. What we are as human beings is fragile biological entities who will die unless we take care of each other. What an economy is the way we take care of each other and keep each other alive. And these are words that cut deep, but feel essential at this point. I assembled a reader on vulnerability earlier this year from the EFLUX Journal archive. And I would warmly invite you to have a look at it. I'll read a little bit from the short editorial as also a kind of reflection for us today. Also on the immediacy of this kind of exchange, one that is usually intimate, as Prateek commented, the immediacy of the knowledge exchange that takes place within such a forum. And to quote the words of poet June Jordan, who says, "It is this time that matters. It is this history I care about, the one we make together, awkward, inconsistent." And so here I'm kind of circling back to what Sun Encounter does, but also the inconsistencies and awkwardnesses that take shape, but also produce a kind of intimate history through dialogue. Before plugging into the ailing body as a data map, spitting red alerts, let us mold the contours of fugitive desires. While deliberating vaccines, let us observe how the anesthesia of late liberalism is wearing away to foreground vocabularies of pain and dread. Let us remember Sadiya Hartman's words on existence in a minor key and remove the marks of shame that caution of weakness as entrapment. For that which is named weakness enables the proneness of circulation rather than clotting. Consider this. It is no coincidence that women put in places of responsibility are treating the pandemic through strategies of collective care instead of militarization, real and metaphorical. Authoritarian governance thrives on individuation and impunity. The tongue is that resolute space of vulnerability. And as Gloria Anzaldúa comments, of malleability. Stubborn, she says, persevering, impenetrable as stone, yet possessing a malleability that renders us unbreakable. Going to yesterday's contributions, we had Dorian Chong addressing his work for M+, what it means to lead a team of curators and researchers for a large-scale institution that is a museum of visual culture, that is visionary in its practice, in its experimentation, in its collection building. And so what it means for such a curator to not move in a frenzied pace from project to project, but to produce a kind of institutional model for the global city that is Hong Kong, the crossroads of histories, of Asian networks, and yet also a city where there has been great turbulence, but also various forms of uprising that also provide us with vocabularies for dissent, for resistance, and for collective production. Dorian also spoke to us about specific projects that M+ has been supporting and that have been crucial to his own practice, such as his work with Samson Young at the Venice Biennale and M+, the show Noguchi for Yanvo, Counterpoint, and also his work with Christina Lee and the artist Shirley Say for the Hong Kong Pavilion at the Venice Biennale and at the M+ Pavilion, where this work was recently installed, as he shared, through a 4-camera setup, and the curator, the artist, and the museum team in 3 continents. Alessandro Vincentelli addressed also several of his projects at the Baltic, where he's been working for more than a decade, projects with South Asian artists such as Bani Abadi, Hajra Wahid, and Raqs Media Collective, but also his crucial group exhibitions that take up the subjects of digital citizenship and forms of assembly. We spoke about post-Brexit UK, debates around multiculturalism as state policy and its shortcomings in memorializing the past and present conditions of colonialism, migration, and dispossession. I recall specifically the words of cultural theorist and sociologist Stuart Hall, who has written on the vital need to maintain a double perspective so that the translation between 2 cultures is manifest in the struggle to evolve such a practice, to sustain one's own culture of debate and difference while recognizing the capacity of desire, even in the class of repression. Alessandro also spoke about the International Triennale of Art and Environment, ECO8, which is his forthcoming project called Letters to the Future, and the role of Naomi Klein's seminal work as an inspiration force to him. In an age of extinction, Klein brings forward the notions of climate barbarism and eco-fascism in her recent interviews and book on fire, called On Fire, The Burning Case for a Green New Deal, calling for systemic regeneration and the political challenges of climate change stemming from white supremacy, corporate violence, fortress borders, and aggressive nationalism. She notes that at the core of climate crisis, there is a challenge to right-wing dominant worldview, and this creation around hierarchies of humanity, which produces the circuit of violence that needs to be shed. Her next book, in fact, is once again on climate change, called How to Change Everything, and is addressed to teenagers. I had to take note of that. So thinking about, who is our audience and how do we generate impact across generations in the work that we do, in the way that we cite various nodes of thinking